All right, the problem here focuses on this it. And if you see my mark, pro, ref, means an unclear pronoun reference. And in this case, it's unclear because it's what we would call an empty pronoun. Empty pronouns have no content. So if I were to, of course, talk about this cup, and I would say the cup, it is silver, it obviously has content. It replaces cup. And in my speaking, it's fairly obvious that it replaces cup. Let's take a look at Ryan's sentence. Based on Rose's reactions to different events in the chapter, it is evident that she has a unique emotional responses. What does it try to replace? Ryan? Okay. Does it try to replace? Sometimes empty pronouns kind of try to replace something, but it's not really doing it quite well. Okay. I don't really see much that it's trying to replace either. So it doesn't have any content. It's a way for Ryan to convey the idea of evident. It's a placeholder so he can get that word into the sentence. But we can still accomplish that without any sort of emptiness, without any sort of weakness in style. I want to rewrite the whole sentence. I want to keep the ideas, but I want to write it cleaner. Right now we have a sentence that is that begins with a very complicated participial / prepositional construction. I want it simpler than this. Anybody have an idea on how to rewrite this to take out that empty pronoun? Yeah. We could use the author's name, but Melissa, I don't think we need to here. I think we can keep what's up there. Morgan, did you have an idea? It's fine. So you want to keep based on Rose's reactions to different events in the chapter? Sure. There you go. Type, she evidently has unique emotional responses. Morgan has just practiced one revision that would be acceptable. Take that evident idea, keep it in there, but include it as an adverb to modify the verb that he already has. She evidently has unique emotional responses. That works. What else? That's true. You can flip it around. However, you've just dropped the idea of evident. And remember, the idea of evident was so important to Ryan that he included an empty pronoun just to include it. So you want to make sure you're doing what Morgan did also, which is include evident as an adverb. Yeah? Don't say there is evidence. Now you have an empty there as your subject. This works. Ryan, how about this? What's the sentence about? Rose's reactions, right? Let's start with that as the subject. Rose's reactions to different events in the chapter. Somebody want to finish that for me? Chris? I don't like the R. R evidence, true. But let's try something else. What are they doing? Evident that she has unique and emotional responses. What verb are we looking for? Not create. Demonstrate, show. So Rose's reactions to different events in the chapter demonstrate her unique emotional responses. I have dropped the evident. Is evident necessary? Should I place it back in there? And if I did place it back in there, how would I do it? Tim, where would evident go back in if I were to place it back in my new sentence? Rose's reactions to different events in the chapter demonstrate her unique emotional responses. her evident unique emotional responses. Okay, now we've gotten to wordiness that is unnecessary. Anyplace else, Abby? Evidently demonstrate. I don't think any of this is working. I'm not sure that we need evident. I think perhaps, Ryan, you're writing in a little bit too much of a wordy fashion. I think what happened was the sentence got away from you a little bit because instead of including Rose's reactions as the subject, as you should have, you included it in this strange kind of phrase structure. And that led to strangeness down the line, focusing on this emptiness right there. Can I see another one of these examples? Somebody else? I like to join the revision together. Somebody else have an empty pronoun? Pro-ref, usually circling the word it. You got one? Okay. Ryan, pass it over to Melissa, please. And I'll do a third after that if somebody else has it. Present whatever you feel is necessary for us to work. Yeah. But it might be a different type of pronoun problem. What is it, Mitch? Read it for me, please. He is unclear pronoun reference simply because you didn't tell me who he was. It's not necessarily the same problem, though. He should stay in there. He should have content. And he and she always do have an implied content. It's it that can be this empty sort of thing. Only a child will believe such a fantasy, and because Gene does not buy into the idea, it shows his maturity and adulthood. Revision ideas. Yes? Could. Let's see if this will help. Only a child will believe such a fantasy, and because Gene does not buy into the idea, this shows his maturity and adulthood. Let's ask the question, what does this equal then? That? One little nitpicky problem, and you might think that I am being a little bit too detail-oriented, but I'm actually not. This is not in the sentence. What's in the sentence? Not buy into the idea. What is that? What is buy? Verb. What do pronouns replace? Nouns. You must replace a noun. Now, Sarah and everybody else, if you're using this, if you're using it, it must replace a noun that is actually in the sentence, not just implied in the sentence, okay? So in order to maintain clarity, it would have to actually be there, not just be implied. So that's an easy mistake to make, Sarah. You're going for something that's clearly implied but not grammatically present. Tim. He. That's an easy fix, yep. He shows his maturity and adulthood. That works. Any other ideas? Emily? But now you have passive voice. His maturity is shown. Is shown would be passive. Morgan? Yeah. Only a child will believe such a fantasy, and his maturity and adulthood shows because he does not buy into this idea? Yeah, that would work. Chris? You could. Only a child will believe such a fantasy, and because Gene does not buy into the idea, Knowles, no, that's not why Knowles reveals it. Because Gene does not buy into the idea, Knowles shows his maturity and adulthood. It's not quite right there. Let me just rewrite the whole thing. It's a little bit wordy. Melissa, let's see what we can do here. Only a child believes such fantasy because... Only a child believes... No, don't type that. We're going to say only a child will believe such a fantasy, period. I'm going to cut that sentence. Jean does not buy into the idea, comma. Somebody see where I'm going? Finish it. Which shows, actually I was going to condense it just a little bit, but Tim, you're on the right track. Showing his maturity in adulthood. Ooh. Where else could that phrase, showing his maturity in adulthood, go? Yeah, it could go right in front of Jean, or it could even go right after Jean. Showing his maturity in adulthood, Jean does not buy into the idea. Or Jean, showing his maturity in adulthood, does not buy into the idea. That showing his maturity in adulthood, what is it modifying? It's a phrase, a participial phrase. You haven't learned them yet, but it's modifying Jean. So if it goes right in front or right behind Jean, it works just fine. So there we go. Okay, did we have one more it? No? Okay, Jordan, pass it over to Jordan, please. We'll do one more of these. Triple set, and that should be good. Yes?
Just something that I noticed. Is adulthood used as an adjective properly?
Adulthood used as a what?
As an adjective? Is it able to be used as an adjective?
No, adulthood's a noun. Noun is a, or hood is a noun suffix.
Okay, so there was it being used correctly?
His maturity and adulthood. It shows maturity and shows is an action verb. Adulthood and maturity are both nouns, so it's a compound predicate nominative. Compound, sorry, direct object. Content. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do it after this. Ah, good. He finds it very difficult to accept negativity and believes with all of his heart that everything in the world is perfect and ideal. Excellent. The empty pronouns quite often signal wordiness. You're saying in 5 words what you could say in 2. You're saying in 10 what you could say in 5. So let's try to cut down on the number of words that Jordan is using. Can you convey the same idea? Cassie? He finds difficulty in accepting negativity. That might work. He finds difficulty in accepting negativity. That's good. And believes with all of his heart that everything in the world is perfect and ideal. Good. Thank you, Cassie. Other ideas? Yes? Okay, he finds negativity difficult to accept. That works also. You could also take out, and this would be sort of writer's choice, Jordan, if you like that idea, if you like the word difficult in there, if you think that that imparts some meaning that you really want to hold on to, then either Melissa or Cassie are recommending a good revision. Another one, he cannot accept negativity. You can cut the whole thing down. But you might say it's not just a matter of cannot, it's a matter of it being a challenge for him. But take a look at that for a moment. I want to keep looking at it. Isn't that it a little bit odd? He finds it. It doesn't seem to replace anything. He finds it very difficult to accept negativity. He finds accepting negativity very difficult. He cannot accept negativity. Quite a bit clearer. So these are empty.